again. So we have a presenter online, Ms. Suzanne Christen. She's a Fulbright professor of law at the University of Namibia. However, she's going to give us a presentation online, sexual grooming of children. The floor is yours, Ms. Susan. Thank you. Ms. Susan, you're good to go.
I can start?
Yes, you can start. You can just tell me to slide through when you're ready.
Okay, I'm going to leave that first slide up for a moment while I introduce myself, and then I'll just say next slide.
Perfect.
Are we ready?
Yes, you can go ahead.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Susan Christen. I'm a Fulbright professor of law at UNAM. I've been in Namibia now for about a year. I'll be going home soon. But I'm here on a Fulbright fellowship to basically support the university in doing some research into things like cybercrime, cybersecurity, violence against women and children, and also to help them develop a course on cybercrime to be offered in the law faculty. And because of that, I am kind of an outlier today. I'm one of the few presentations that's looking at digital innovation, not simply from the positive perspective, but from the fact that digital innovation helps criminals exploit and abuse children, and that when it comes to cybersecurity, we need to not only be aware that we need cybersecurity for our businesses, for our communications, but also for our youth. That's what we call safeguarding. The presentation I'm doing today is based on a study that I was part of back in 2022 called Disrupting Harm, Online Child Sexual Exploitation and Abuse in Namibia. It was funded by Interpol and ECPAT and UNICEF, and it was conducted in conjunction with the government and NGOs here in Namibia, looking at what is happening with online child sexual exploitation and abuse here in Namibia. And today I'm going to be speaking on just one very specific part of that study and its findings, which is online sexual grooming of children. By children, I mean anybody under 18. But a lot of what I'm going to talk about could also apply to people who are in their 20s. So my objective today is simply to acquaint you with online grooming phenomenon. And if you have any questions, if you want any further information on it, I'm happy to share that study with you. And the very last slide here is my WhatsApp contact number. So please, if you have a question but you don't think about it today, WhatsApp me tomorrow, next week, next year. I'm here, I'm available, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. Okay, next slide, please. We're going to start with definitions of grooming. Next slide, please. And there are many, many different definitions. One is a process over time to prepare a minor for sexual assault or exploitation. Another is a process by which child abusers build trust with a minor to transition from non-sexual relationships to sexual relationships in a manner that seems natural and non-threatening. Next slide, please. It can also be defined as a process by which a person prepares a minor, significant adults, and the environment for the abuse of the minor. The process serves to strengthen the offender's abusive patterns, as it can be used as a means of justifying or denying their actions. And basically what grooming does, what grooming is in a nutshell, is it is the seduction of a child by an adult. And part of that seduction is normalizing adult-child sexual relationships, desensitizing children to the fact that there might be something wrong with that, and trying to normalize. Grooming tries to normalize adult-minor sexual interaction. When I talk about here in this slide about not only preparing, grooming the child, okay, building that trust, building that relationship with the child, seducing that child. We also talk about significant adults, so the child's parents, the child's teacher, basically the adults in the environment. So it could be family members, it could be community members, because what the offender is trying to do is make it so that if the child does say something to an adult, say a mom or a dad, they're going to go in thinking, well, no, that can't be right, because this person is they're very kind. You know, they share their resources, they share their time, they take my child to get meals, they help with grocery bills, they do all these things. You, child, must be misunderstanding, because this adult is a really good person. And by the environment, as I said, I mean the community. I began my career as a prosecutor, as a sex crimes prosecutor in the U.S., and I come from a very Catholic neighborhood. And I was among the first people that was prosecuting Catholic priests. And there was a lot of pushback on this, because people would think, well, Father Michael would never do that. Well, in fact, Father Michael had done that and had been doing it for years. So grooming applies not only to the child, but to the immediate family members, the immediate community, but also the community as a whole. Next slide, please. And there are many stages to grooming, but because we have just a very short period of time today, and I know that we're running a little bit late, I'm only going to talk about the first stage. And that's the targeting stage, where an offender or a potential offender goes out and tries to figure out who is a likely victim. In an online environment, this is a victim-rich scenario, because think about how many children are online at any given moment. With online grooming, we don't have to have, like you did in the old days, with the offender and the child in the same area. Now, people can groom and then exploit or abuse children from across the world. Next slide, please. And with grooming, the hallmarks of grooming are attention, affection, and gifts. When someone is online and they're paying particular attention to a child, this is used to counter neglect. And I don't mean neglect in the sense that the parents are being bad. I just mean maybe the child comes from a very large family where they feel like their older or younger siblings are being paid more attention to. Affection, the grooming helps fulfill an emotional or a non-sexual need of the victim. It's a trust-building stage. I'm your friend. The offender will say, I'm your friend. I understand you. I get you. You can trust me. I know exactly what you're going through, right? They're using affection to build trust. This is also a stage where gifts may be involved. And it can be something small, like food or pencils. We've had cases here in Namibia where it was school supplies, for example. But it can also be inexpensive toys, but it can also be opportunities. And the case study that I'm going to go through in just a moment shows you how that can be used. Where you say to a child, these children were 14, you say to a child, I have an opportunity for you, but you're going to need to do certain things for me. And that's part of the grooming process. You're giving those children attention, you're telling them that they can trust you, you're fulfilling that emotional need, you might be giving them gifts of whatever nature, but really what the offender is doing is they are positioning for strike, for their abuse of power. Next slide, please. And I want to make sure that everyone understands that grooming behaviors are not uniform, and they can take physical, psychological, material, or emotional forms, or any combination of these, okay? And when people think of sexual grooming, we often think, well, the offender and the child have to be, right in the same area, right in the same community. Well, remember, sexual grooming can take two different forms. It can be contact sexual grooming, where the offender wants to have sexual contact with the child, or it can be non-contact forms. And an example of that is online exploitation. Next slide, please. So I want to finish this very brief presentation by giving you a case study that came out of that report from 2022 on online grooming and child sexual exploitation and abuse. So we have 4 14-year-old girls who are going online to learn about modeling opportunities. And they get in touch with a website that offers bursaries, but only a limited number of bursaries, right? They're saying we have a small number of this funding, basically, but not for everybody. So if you want a bursary, you need to apply. So part of the application for these bursaries is that the 14-year-olds have to provide information, okay, which is absolutely logical and fair. If I was applying for funding, the funder would want to know something about me. And what this particular situation involved was that the website asked for the kids' school, all the different home addresses of the 4 different kids, and also their parents' names and workplaces. And so the kids fill out these forms with this information. Remember, they're 14, so they have all this information at the ready. And part of the application process, because again, this is modeling, is to send normal pictures of themselves. You know, they could be studying, they could be at a family outing, you know, something normal, something that if you saw this picture, you wouldn't think anything was wrong. Next slide, please. Remember that online, offenders can take their time. So these girls put in their applications, and not immediately, but a couple weeks later, they're contacted by a man who tells them all, well, you've made the first cut. You've made it to the second stage of this bursary funding. But now we need to see some pictures of you besides the classic just, you know, headshot, just your face, you know. We need to see you in action shots. So if you have anything like, you know, if you're an athlete, if you're doing swimming, or if you're doing running, okay? So we need something that's more action, more readily understandable, perhaps even as a video. So the girls all submit these things. And again, they're seemingly innocent pictures and videos, but we see them going from a still shot to now an action shot. And as you know, with swimming and athletics, kids are usually going to move from wearing regular clothes to wearing swimming costumes, short shorts, smaller shirts, things like that. Then another couple weeks go by, and this man gets back in contact saying, well, you've made this second cut, but now, because you're 14, you know, we really want to invest in you long term. So what we're going to need is some mature shots, some adult shots. And by this, what he means is topless. He wants to see these girls topless. One of the girls is very hesitant. She's getting a bad feeling about this whole situation. Remember, the 4 of them are all friends. But 3 of them really want to do this. And even though the one person is hesitant, the man says, you don't have to worry. You're safe. You're in your own homes. You have total privacy. You're miles from anyone. I really want you to get this bursary. You can do this. You can send me these shots. And they all do, even the girl who was hesitant. Next slide, please. So now what's called sextortion, which is extortion through sexual means or for sexual ends. The man says, I'm going to need more explicit pictures of you, or I'll share what you've already done. Remember, he already has those topless shots, so he can blackmail her now. He can sextort her. I'll share what you've already done with your family, with your school, and with your parents' workplace. Okay? Now we see who this person really is. He's manipulative, and he's doing it not only to gain access to these sexual explicit pictures of children, but also for the power. He's doing it because he enjoys exerting power over children. And he says to the girls, do you want to be responsible for your parents losing their jobs? And is that a reasonable threat that the girls could think, yeah, that could happen? If, say the girl's mom works in a bank, and say it's FNB, and they send the pictures to FNB with this girl's name and the parent's name, and she opens these shots, but they also send it to the general bank site. Is it possible that the mom might be fired? It's possible. It's not a certainty, but surely the threat of losing a job is a huge blackmail ability. And finally, he says, not only that, not only does he threaten them with their parents losing their jobs, but I know where you live. The ultimate threat, I know where you live, because remember, the girls gave him their addresses, okay? So after this begins, the girl who was hesitant to begin with said, I've had enough. One of the reasons that they didn't tell their parents was they were very afraid of how their parents would react. And she's gotten to the point where she says, I don't care if my parents beat me and I have to leave school. If we don't get out now, he will end up killing us. That gives you an example of how bad things have to be in many, many, many cases before kids will tell what's happening to them online. And you see that not only in the online sexual exploitation and abuse, but in cyberbullying, okay? That kids aren't necessarily going to tell their parents or even somebody in their family, okay? Maybe they have an aunt or an uncle or a grandmother or a grandfather that they're really close to. They may not tell because they're afraid. What if I tell? What will happen to me? How will my parents react? What price am I going to pay? That's how bad it has to be. They have to basically fear for their safety before they disclose in many, many, many cases. Next slide, please. And I want to conclude just by quickly recapping what I said, that grooming is the manipulation and seduction of a minor by an adult, okay? And a lot of times, you know, people will say, well, shouldn't the girl have known? Shouldn't the girls have known this was too good to be true? It can never be the fault of the child. It is always the fault and the criminal responsibility of the adult, okay? We need to stay well and truly clear of victim blaming, okay? And remember, when you're a teenager, you don't understand. You know, I as an adult, if somebody comes up to me and says, oh, Susan, you're fascinating and you're interesting, I'm very suspicious. It's like, if somebody did that, I would say, what are you doing? That's my husband's job to tell me that I'm fascinating and wonderful. Don't take his job, okay? I understand agenda. When I was young, when I was very, very young, when I was in my teens, you know, if somebody came up and said, oh, you're amazing, you're beautiful, this and that, it was like, no, I will not date you. Now that I'm older, if somebody comes up and starts complimenting me in a ridiculous manner, not a genuine compliment, but ridiculous, over the top, I say, no, I will not loan you money. I understand agenda, okay? I understand that people sometimes say nice things because they want something in return. And the final point that I want to make is that children don't understand agenda, okay? They are incredibly trusting. And because of that, if they are groomed and they do fall into this trap of trusting somebody that they shouldn't, psychologically, this can be very debilitating for that child when he or she finds out that this has all been a lie, because they're going to turn on themselves. Why didn't I know? How could I have been so stupid? Nobody could think that I'm beautiful. Of course, you know, I could never have been a model, all right? So they turn on themselves, and psychologically, that can be incredibly difficult. A lot of trauma is imposed on kids even when they've never physically met the offender. Okay, last slide, please. So please feel free to take down that number at the bottom. That's my WhatsApp number. And as I say, if we have any questions now, depending on how much time Elizabeth has set aside for that, I'd be happy to take a question or two now. But if we don't have time, or if you think of something tomorrow, or if you want more information on online child sexual abuse and exploitation, or cyberbullying, or cyberstalking, or any of the criminal matters that I deal with, please feel free to contact me. I have been doing this work now for 40 years, which means that if I don't know the answer, I certainly know the person who does know the answer. So if you need anything, please let me know, get in touch. I'm free, never say no to free things. And at this point, I'll hand it back to Elizabeth and see where she would like to go. Elizabeth?
Professor Susan, can you hear me?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes, no, thank you so much for a very well presentation on grooming kids. We all
We all
have
have
girls, women are more, right,
than
than males in this world. And since we're pushing the agenda of women and youth, obviously not leaving out the youth kids, but focusing more on girls, it really does. It teaches us to start at home.
you know, if we have nieces, if we have kids which are baby girls and so forth, we are actually able to just teach them on these basics because they are our future generation. And it's very important that we teach them on sexual harassment, that also now, you know, they are the ones that are always having the phones. In our generation, most of the 90s and the 80s, we grew up not really having phones. But now phones really do revolve around our kids, which could be a good and a bad way. And also the importance of cybersecurity attack, as Professor Susan has explained. Are there any questions, perhaps, from the audience? Just clear, right? Okay, there's a question behind.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Hannah. Okay. Prof, okay, I would like to ask a question. Okay, since you talk about, we are talking about AI, all right, and now this is more like cyber, okay, cyber bullying and so on. Now, when one is exposed and you have thrown yourself out there, you know, like there's a saying that the internet doesn't forget, né? Like, even if people clear your name, even your reputation is still stained. So, and the perpetrator, sometimes you don't even get to find them, right? They just go and hide. But still, your dignity, you are stripped of your dignity. So how do, like, you know, how do you rebuild that person? I can't. The word is confidence back, you know, like, you know, once you are humiliated, you know, like, and you are stripped of your dignity through cyberbullying. So how do you do that? You know, do you, like, you know, counseling is not enough, you see? Because the internet does not forget. Like, I've seen a lot of things that happened 10 years ago, and boom, you are doing very well in life, and then it's pop up. Then people remind you, yeah, on this day, this and this also happens. It's always like that, boom, it comes up. So in Namibia, we don't have that pool that, you know, like, you know, anything that, or anyone that's having certain information that is dirty on somebody, so that it can just be thrown away. It's still there. After so many years, boom, just coming up. So all your dirt is just there. You are naked again. So is there no any way, like in Namibia, like cybersecurity is not safe, it's not enough, like just to create a platform, like, you know, as much as people are sued, but still the internet doesn't forget. We need a pool, a secure mode, you know, like if anything happens, it must be deleted, forgotten, that there's no trace. Because, you know, your child will see all your nasty things that you did. Sometimes you, because of ignorance, okay, because of ignorance, you are not aware, or you were fooled, you see? So I just want to find out. Okay, I hope my question is clear.
Okay, I could only understand a bit of that because it was very light, but it seems to me that what you were asking was what sort of prevention or deterrence can you use when it comes to online abuse and also the role of AI? Is that correct?
Yes, yes.
Okay. All right. When it comes to preventing grooming, the most important thing to do is to have a very upfront, non-frightening discussion with your kids from a very early age that the internet is a great place, but a very small number of people on the internet do bad things. And if you are ever in a situation, you child, let's say I'm an adult and I'm talking to my child. If you are ever in a situation where you feel uncomfortable on the internet, you can just get out. You know, if you're in a chat room, leave. If you're in a meeting like this, leave. But also tell me, or if you don't feel comfortable telling me, usually kids have one adult that they really truly can trust. And it's usually an aunt or an uncle. Okay. Well, actually, it's usually an aunt or a grandfather. I don't know why, but you know, if you don't feel comfortable talking to me about it, tell somebody else. Or a lot of the NGOs here in town, here in Windhoek and throughout Namibia, work on these issues. Okay. So making sure that the kids know they can get in touch with NGOs to talk with them about safety and what to do if something has happened to them, if they're scared. Most kids will not call the police. I don't think that's a reasonable thing to ask a child to do. But they might be able to reach out to an NGO and get some information from them. I'm happy to share with you some information that I have that you can, use perhaps on a day-to-day basis in terms of prevention of online exploitation and abuse. But just very quickly before I sign off, the role of AI was also asked about, and AI can help in certain ways. But what we're finding, my background is as a prosecutor, what we're finding is that when people make AI images of child sexual abuse and exploitation, and they do it all the time, and they put those images out on the internet, what might happen in many cases is that people report those images to the police, as they should, but then the police waste their time trying to track down who is this kid in this AI image. So AI is making it more difficult for police to track down and find kids who are genuinely being abused online. And there are still ways that you can tell AI images from real images, but it's getting more and more difficult, and you kind of have to have somebody that is very tech savvy in order to do that in many, many cases. And as time goes by, what now we can look to distinguish real from AI may be overcome. So I think in terms of online abuse and exploitation, the most important thing is giving your child an understanding that the internet is great, but that a small amount of the internet, there are bad people on. And if they run into these bad people, they need to tell somebody if they feel like they've been exposed to something. That study that we worked on in 2022 found that most kids, well, not most, but many, many kids had been exposed to unwanted sexual imagery. Many, many kids had been solicited for sexual encounters. So if something like that happens, you as adults have to be really comfortable talking to kids about what's going on the internet. You have to know about the internet. You have to know about what's going on the internet, and you have to give your child a way, if not to you, to somebody else, to tell someone who's an adult and who can take measures for the child's safety what to do. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Suzanne. Is there any other question before we end it off? We'll be ending this session, and then we'll resume at 4 o'clock with another presentation from Pulla Pitch competition, just explaining on how investors do invest in micro, small, medium enterprises, since we'll have a pitch competition as well tomorrow. So just to guide when they are also presenting their pitches tomorrow. And then it will be followed by the AfCFTA Secretariat Coordinator, Mr. Tama from Nigeria. And then we'll head into a panel discussion. But I'm sure there's also another presentation after that, because it's 3 presentations, and then we'll close it off. So thank you. We'll have a 20 minutes break, and then we'll resume at 4. Please be on time so that we can go home at 5. Thank you. afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back again to the Women and Youth-led Green Digital and Green Trade and Digital Innovation. Our next lined-up presenter will be Mr. Torti Amanjuku from Pula Peach. Right now he's in Canada. So thank you very much for waiting, and apologies for the schedule. Okay, the floor is yours. You have around about 10 minutes, please. He will explain and introduce himself. Thank you. Dottie, please go ahead. The floor is yours.
All right. Okay. Well, good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I'd like to say thank you very much to Elizabeth and the team for putting this together. I think it's I've put some events together myself, and it really is quite the task to put something like this together. And so just a very big thank you to Elizabeth and the team. You guys are doing an amazing work, and so shout out to that. Just a little bit of an intro about me and who I am, what I do. My name is Torti Amanjoko. I am head of productions and partnerships at Pula Pitch. So in a nutshell, like what we do at Pula Pitch is we essentially merge, we merge venture and entertainment, right? And kind of like piece that together to essentially be able to both storytell, as well as kind of create a lot of like economic value out of that merge. So that's what we do in a like a very nutshell, right? But we actually really are proud to say that we are Africa's first venture capital driven entrepreneurial reality TV show, right? And so what that looks like for us is one of the things that drives us really is the fact that we believe that that broadcast TV still is powerful. We believe too that media does give a lot of mileage to startups, and by virtue of us having a parent company that is a VC, right? We essentially have taken the time to actually build out a media engine that both does the work of creating entertainment, but creating valuable entertainment for our cohort and our founders. One of the reasons why we started this is because we saw a bit of a niche in the venture space, both in Southern Africa and generally in Africa as a whole, right? And the niche is this. One of the biggest costs for startups is the cost of customer acquisition, right? And I mean, and if you don't know this, generally, like what the stats look like is it costs. In the fintech space, it costs like a fintech startup about, give or take, roughly $1,000 to acquire one customer, right? That's what the stats say. Now it varies, of course, like across different markets, but generally that's what you're looking at. And then different sectors, of course, that varies as well. But with that sitting as an average cost, right? You can imagine like how much startups spend on acquiring customers, and how you really have to be creative to create like long-term value, right? And so for us, this is a space and a niche that we come in, and what we then do is we we combine venture and entertainment to lower the cost of customer acquisition for a lot of our startups by by creating like a storytelling format for our program, right? And then putting that on TV. So we're currently in our second season now. We did the first season that was great. Went out on live TV, on national TV in Botswana, and we're currently in the process of our second season, and also exploring other SADC markets as well, right? Namibia being quite at the top of our radar. And so just a little bit in a nutshell what our program looks like, right? It usually runs give or take over a 6 to 8 month period. The first 3 months are usually application vetting. 3 to 4 months actually. It's application vetting, running like some really intensive master classes that both gets our founders, our cohort ready for the competition, but also gets them really geared for their entrepreneurial journey, right? So it's quite a bit of like an intensive period, and then once that's done, then we then finalize the cohort after that process, and then the cohort then goes into our the production part of the season, which is then the competition. So all through the competition, there are various stages that that intensely challenge our founders. For season 1, we did an interesting challenge where where founders actually had to put together like strategies to rescue a dying business. So that's one of the things. In season 2, we're doing a bit more of like a building in public style challenge, but there are like a lot of the challenges are geared towards both like fine tuning you as a founder and as an entrepreneur, and also really like getting you to think out of the box and exposing you to potential like real life challenges that you will encounter post the competition and just in your entrepreneurial journey. And so that's kind of what our program looks like in a nutshell. We are generally industry agnostic, so we don't have a specific industry that we focus on, both from a VC perspective and on Pull Up Pitch as well. We love to really keep it open because we really believe that there's a lot going on in different sectors. And I mean, we have a very keen focus on Southern Africa. So I'm going to speak specifically for Southern Africa. So we believe there's a lot going on within the different spaces or industries in Southern Africa. And so we're always open to to what's happening innovation wise. And there's been quite a bit of a keen focus on green tech and climate tech as well. From our perspective, we are working on something with some partners that will see us do something actually very specific in green tech and climate tech, right? But that's, I mean, I can't say too much on that yet. It's still very early days. But there's so much opportunity around SADC as a whole, specifically, right, around climate tech and green tech. And I think when we speak about this, right, there's a lot of talk around like the largest side of the entire value chain. But I think there's so much space, right, within the within, I think, for MSMEs, right, within the entire value chain itself. One of the examples that we have been keenly looking at is the fact that there's so much like solar installations that are happening today across SADC, and when you look at this, like you think to yourself, generally like a solar panel has like a lifespan of give or take about 20 years, maybe maybe a little bit more. But in 20 years, those solar panels are going to have to be either recycled or disposed of, right? Like who's taking care of this? Where are we disposing them, right? Those kind of things. So these are things like within the value chain, I think, over the long term that that we're also looking at, who is innovating in these spaces, and so that's some of the things that we look out for around the value chain of climate tech, especially where like small medium enterprises are concerned. But specifically from a funding perspective, right? Like, what do we assess? What do we look at? What kind of makes investment sense for us from a VC perspective? I think one, we generally like to see. We like to see, some sort of like an MVP, a prototype, a proof of concept. That for us is really key and valuable. We also, love to see like some traction as well. I think that helps us really like, gauge whether there's actually like demand or need for whatever you're building or you're solving for, right? We also love to see like how potentially scalable this your startup is or your idea is, right? I think for us, yes, there is. Yes, there is. I think there is a lot of opportunity, right, for for startups to stay within their geographic economy. But I think borders are now are really breaking down, and so there's opportunities to really serve like the wider like regional market and Africa as a whole, and for us as a VC, right, that when we start to think where do we put our money, those are things that those are considerations that that really I think that really make sense for us. Are you scalable? Can you scale across the region? Can you scale across the continent? That starts to make sense for for a lot of our partners as well. And then what else? And I think things around, of course, uh, your social your social impact, right? Is your startup creating more jobs, or is it like or is it kind of eroding jobs, right? I know there's an entire push for for AI and how we can really like optimize stuff, but I think there should be like a really decent use of AI in terms of not necessarily eroding the employment economy, but also like adding to it. And so these are some of the things that that we do look at. And then of course we also look at like your team, right? Who are you working with? What background do you guys have? Do we really are you really going to be able to execute or not? Do we have confidence in you and the team executing, right? So those are some of the things that we look at on our program. Those are some of the things that we look at as a VC as well, and most likely some of the things that we're probably going to be looking at tomorrow as some of you pitch. And so that's that's me. That's us as Pull Up Pitch, and our parent company being Directors Investments. That's the VC that funds the investments that we invest into some of the cohort that comes out of Pull Up Pitch. We currently have, give or take, around 3 portfolio companies. One of them is in South Africa. 2 of them are located in Botswana. We're currently in talks with another portfolio company, and as we wrap up season 2, we're going to be adding another portfolio company to another company to our portfolio. And so that's what we do. And like I said, we are actively exploring the Namibian market. We hope that that will materialize within the the next year, the upcoming year. But there's still some work for us to do before we fully enter the market. Great. I'll hand it back to Elizabeth.
Thank you very much for the presentation. It was quite very informative. Should they have any questions, I think that will be directed in the chats. They can put it in the chats, the ones that are online. And if they have any other questions, how do they get hold of you?
Feel free to email us at pula@pulapitch.com. So that's PULA@PULAPITCH.com. Feel free to email us there, or you can just go to our website, pulapitch.com, and fill out the contact form, and we'll definitely get back to you.
All right. Thank you very, very much.
Great. You're welcome. Thanks a lot, Elizabeth. All right.
Okay, Toti. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much for the presentation, Toti. That was really amazing. Next up, I'll call on my third session to come up. That will be Miss Twaini. I'll introduce her. She's coming up front. I just need to open up my slides. Please clap hands for her. Wait. Just give me a second. I just switched off. I just switched off my. Sorry, just quickly hold on. Yes, sorry. Okay, so I'm going to call up Miss Aina Petrus. Please welcome her to the panel as well. Joined by Miss Twaini Kauluma. So we'll dive into our session. In our third session, just give me a second. All right, so our third session is literally about digital innovation for sustainable growth, right? And I would like Ms. Twaini to introduce herself, and then followed by Ms. Aina. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Ms. Elizabeth. So my name is Twaini Kauluma. I'm a Namibian, first and foremost, a strategist, a designer, and also an innovator. I'm also the founder and managing director of Creations Industrial Design, where we focus on helping MSMEs in adopting digital transformation, and also we dwell in management consulting for both the public and also the private sector. I'm also the co-founder of the Namibia Rethink Waste Green Cycle Expo alongside Ms. Maria Shimanda, who was also a panelist earlier. So my background academically is in strategy and also in UI and UX design. Basically, I'm an industrial designer. That is what I call myself on an academic basis. So I'm very passionate about helping MSMEs adopt practical digital tools and also data-driven approaches and solutions. That's me in a nutshell. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Aina Bonang Petrus. I am the founder of Bonang's Lavish Lashes, a beauty brand that is growing explicitly well in Namibia. And I'm the chairperson of Tukwatha Youth Organization for Commerce. As a young entrepreneur, I am passionate about empowering the youth to use their businesses resourcefully and creatively. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Ms. Aina. Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'll start with Ms. Twainey. So, Ms. Twainey, I'm glad you're an enthusiast as well when it comes to sustainability. However, what AI tools can support micro, small, medium enterprises in improving financial governance, climate reporting, and digital competitiveness under the AfCFTA, which is the African Continental Free Trade Area?
Thank you, moderator. And I would just like to say good afternoon, everyone. Once more, before I begin, I want to acknowledge something very special. Actually, when I came here yesterday, I texted Elizabeth immediately. I'm like, what a beautiful coincidence and truly special for me that the hall that we are in today, that's why I needed to introduce myself, is actually named after my late uncle, Bishop James Kauluma. So it would be remiss if I do not acknowledge that fact. So now moving on into today's discussion, when people hear about AI, this is now like what we all see around, is that we feel like AI is going to replace us. But we don't even have jobs to begin with. So what is AI coming to replace? So we should not be scared of AI, but rather embrace it. So my focus is on how AI can support small businesses in three very practical areas. That is now what you mentioned, the financial governance, climate reporting, and the digital competitiveness. So the question that you posted was very loaded, and it is what AI tools can support MSMEs in improving financial governance, climate reporting, and digital competitiveness under AfCFTA, which is a word that I'm also learning today from Ms. Amanda. So in terms of financial governance, AI is an excellent financial tool that can assist us when we are talking about integrity and honesty, because AI keeps clean record. That is now your sales, your expenses, and also help you with your invoices and your cash flow. So without now emotions and also excuses or forgetting, which is a human error. So for a local example, we have free tools that are available to small businesses. For example, Zoho Books, which everybody that I've worked with sort of uses because it's cost effective and it keeps your data clean and it gives you records so that you can, and when the time is right, you are able to submit them to the bank for financial needs and so forth. On a global level, we do have QuickBooks, and many other tools that are available. So AI won't fix your money problems, that's one, but at least it won't create new ones. That's a joke. On climate reporting, when we hear these words like climate change, climate resilience, sustainability, and we are not from that focal point of expertise or industry, we feel like, oh, it's beyond my grasp. However, it can start with as simple as you tracking the fuel that you are putting in your car or how much you're spending on fuel with a simple Google sheet or Excel sheet. With the help of AI, you can integrate it, and at the end of the year, you can see your footprint in terms of consumption and so forth. On a global level, there are other tools that are available, like Plan A. There is also Carbon Alt Delete, which is mostly used in Nigeria because of the oil and gas industry that is happening there, which you can also adopt to our local content. Also, there's another one called Carbon Cloud, which is now for easy sustainability dashboards so that you can visualize what is happening. In terms of digital competitiveness, this is something that I've seen a lot of businesses use. And I think, Ms. Elizabeth, you are also guilty of using this tool. That is now Canva for designing, so that you don't have to rely on your cousin who knows Photoshop and then they don't deliver. So you do have options to use some of these AI tools to create posters so that you make your life easy and you can promote your brand to move forward. It doesn't require you to have studied Photoshop or know Illustrator or have gone to design school like some of us. It's that simple. On a global scale, we can look at opportunities that exist for us with AI tools. For example, Shopify is one of the global shop that is available, but there is also emerging shops like the one that was presented this morning from Botswana. So there's a lot of option. So I asked AI for a joke when it comes to climate reporting or businesses in the sense, and it told me that AI won't make your business perfect, but it will definitely make it look more organized than you feel. Yeah. So that's it. Thank you. I hope I answered your question more or less.
Yes, you did. Very well. Thank you so much. It was quite very insightful, and then we'll also move to Mrs. Aina. Sorry, there was a gentleman in between. Okay. What support mechanisms are needed for climate tech?
All right.
And digital trade startups to scale across regional AfCFTA market? Given that you're an entrepreneur and that you own your own business, how do you intend on using that as a leverage to trade under the AfCFTA?
All right. First of all, I think we need to start with understanding what climate tech is. Climate tech refers to any solution or any smart innovation that helps keep our environment friendly. All right. So we can do, like you asked, there are a lot of solutions to that. When it comes to businesses, we can mentor them. People that have experience in businesses or well-expertised entrepreneurs can train new upcoming businesses or business owners on how to manage their businesses in a way that it helps to reduce. Excuse me, sorry, I forgot the word. So yeah, okay, relating it back to my business. So I do lashes, right? I own a lash studio. So when it comes to being friendly to the environment, we use biodegradable resources, like the lashes that we use. They are not made of plastic. They can be decomposed, which helps keep our ecosystem friendly. And our workshop also runs on LED lights and small fans. We use this to minimize emission of gases like carbon dioxide, which helps with energy, which helps to save energy. Well, sorry. We also have app, which this goes now to digital sustainability. We also have apps that control our booking systems. These apps help us to save time and money. Because then if we just allow everyone to book without having a proper organized booking system, it will just cause confusion and time just be wasted. So yeah.
No, thank you so much. Oh, that was very good. I just want to add to that app. So when it comes to trading under the AfCFTA, is it accessible like to anyone like outside of Namibia? like to do any, like if they want to do like a booking, or even just order your product, because it's eco-friendly actually. One can actually use that. And eyelashes, the good thing is you can still reuse it. And by the way, my eyelashes are also from Bonang's Lavishes, as you can see. Yes. She sponsored, thank you. So just in that term, right, no, you have to give credit where it's due. Just within that alignment, does your app allow that? Like if somebody else is in another country?
Yes, everyone can book on the app.
No, that's really good. I see you're ahead of time, hey. Is there any other contributions that you might give? Sorry, we are keeping it so short because of time as well. We still have presenters online waiting. If there's any questions from the floor. I hope we're not hungry by this time. It's just a dry joke. No, thank you very much to the panelists, and thank you. Ever since you came in the morning, you are still here. Thank you. I know we are behind schedule, but it was very important, the message that you gave off. Ms. Twainey, thank you as well for your most precious time.
Thank you so much, Ms. Elizabeth, for this great initiative. And I think, or I believe, and I'm sure, we are doing this again next year, right? Yes, because there's a lot of interesting conversations that came out of this summit. And it's really remiss that a lot of people are missing out. Perhaps they feel intimidated by certain topics because it's not within the industry where they are operating, which is always a thing about events. If I can't, they feel like I can't go to an oil and gas industry conference, or I can't come to a green tech summit because I don't know anything about being green or sustainability. However, in the rooms where you feel most uncomfortable, that is where your growth lies, and that is where you should be, not hiding away in your comfort zone somewhere. So I would like perhaps to challenge the youth, if they can show up tomorrow, next year, and the year after that, when this summit grows and continues, that they may show up and be uncomfortable and have these discussions. It matters. Thank you so much for having us.
Wow, thank you.
It was an honor being a panelist today. Thank you so much, ma'am.
No, you're very much welcome. It was a privilege to choose you people because I love the reputation, and you are the next, we are the next future generation to make an impact, a lasting impact to the future. So I'm sure the youth, if they have to live stream this and they are watching, even people that are watching outside Namibia, they are very much impressed with the presentation that you also just gave off now. So well done, and thank you so much for the input.
Thank you.
All right. Okay. So we're running up with the schedule so fast that there's no in-between breaks. So the next presentation will be from Mr. Andrea. Andrea is from Malawi. He has a PhD in agriculture, and he will be presenting within less than 10 minutes as well. I'll just quickly connect him. Thank you. Sorry. Hi, Mr. Andrea, are you online? Hello? Can you hear me? Mr. Andrea, can you hear me?
Mr. Andrea, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now.
And then you can go ahead and present as soon as you see your slides, okay? You have around about 10 to 15, actually 10 minutes.
Kind of not.
Sorry?
Yes, I'm saying I hear you and I've taken note.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Presentation. Okay, you're good to go?
Thank you, Elisa. Of course, I can't see the presentation. It's not showing.
Oh. Hold on. Okay.
Time that youth should be in majority, even in terms of business, religious, and indeed political leadership circles. So it's not just an ambition, it's something that I'm working on with colleagues in rural areas, in urban areas, and indeed SADC and across Africa and beyond Africa. So this is how we are doing it. I need till 2030. Yeah, so let me pause, wait for my slides to show up.
Okay, can you just continue with your presentation? I'll catch up with the slides.
Okay.
Thank you.
Or maybe I should share from my side. What do you
Yes,
think?
please, by all means.
Okay, let me do. Yeah, are you able to see my slides?
Yes, we can see your slides. Maybe if you can just, yeah, make it full screen.
Yeah,
If you
I've
can
done.
zoom it in.
I've done it. I've done so.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Okay. So, colleagues, as I've said, this is an opportunity. Actually, it's one of the opportunities that I need to do at Africa level in trying to influence the socio-economic transformation of our continent. So I'm presenting on climate technology and innovations. This is specifically in response to climate change effects, which is one of the key cross-cutting issues when it comes to socio-economic development. Specifically, I'm looking at how can our individual countries and indeed our continent achieve economic growth through green industrialization roadmap or pathways. As an outline, I'll look at Africa and indeed Namibia just transition in terms of energy, and then we'll specifically look at why human resource or skills development is very important in ensuring sustainable growth. And then 3, I'll look at in response to climate change effects, what are some of the technologies or solutions? Specifically, I'm focusing on the green energy, or indeed the hydrogen energy programs at various countries, specifically Namibia, what it's doing in trying to make sure that whatever economic activity we do, we minimize the consumption of the carbons which are contributing to greenhouse gas emissions, and that we migrate into non-carbon energy sources. And then fourthly, we'll specifically look at the hydrogen innovation as a source of sustainable economic growth. And then we'll look at what opportunities are there in terms of greenhouse, rather just energy transitions, which in this case is through renewable energies, or specifically hydrogen. And finally, we'll look at the policy and investment priorities that individual countries and indeed Africa as a continent need to focus on. So by way of setting contexts, colleagues, climate change is here, and its effects are felt increasingly and more frequently. And in response to that, countries within Africa, in this case, Namibia being one of them, we also have Angola, Morocco, Egypt, and Kenya, are accelerating in greening their industries. Greening industries, what we're saying is we need to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by reducing the consumption of the carbons in form of coal, oil, and gas, and turn to renewable sources of energy, which are solar, wind, and the like. So when we hear of green industrialization, basically we're looking at energy sources that are non-carbon, non-fossil fuel energy sources, which are essentially the renewable sources of energy. So as I indicated, climate shocks, these are actually increasing in terms of frequency as well as the impact, and they demand regional, indeed, scalable technologies, particularly issues of energy. Energy is a key input in the production process. As you look at Africa, you know, one of the elements of poverty is energy. Not many of us, or not many households or firms are connected to the electricity grid. Specifically in Namibia, you import about 40% of your energy requirements. If I look at my country, only about 15% of the entire population is connected to electricity grid. So you can see that energy poverty is way high. All right. So because of the energy poverty, this may actually force us to, you know, consume more of the fossil fuels, the coal, oils, and gases. But in the event of climate change shocks, we now need to think of transiting from carbon consumption to renewable energies. UN is setting a target that by 2050, we need to emit like zero levels of carbons, so no consumption of fossil fuels. So that's the trajectory set by the United Nations. So specifically to Namibia, Namibia is would like to become a continental and global leader in trying to green the industrial processes or industrialization pathways. Just in August, they launched what we call Green Hydrogen Program. This Green Hydrogen Program has its ambition, which is essentially green hydrogen gas as a cross-sector growth. What does this program involve? So this involves green hydrogen, which is actually a renewable energy source. So they're trying to green the renewable energy ecosystem in terms of generation, storage, as well as production of hydrogen gas itself, which will feed into energy production, but again, lead into supporting what we call the supporting industries. But at the same time, it will also include expansion of the supporting infrastructure like port infrastructure, as well as upscaling supporting industries. And these supporting industries down there, it's hydrogen derivatives where we're producing fertilizers, synthetic fuels, which are replacing the carbon fuels. Again, the same hydrogen will be used as energy source in mineral refineries like rare earths and iron ores. Already, there is a company in Namibia known as High Iron, which is producing iron as a refined mineral or metal from iron ores using non-fossil fuel energy. You know, And the other supporting industry, since we're talking of renewables from solar as well as wind, we are talking of the solar panels, the wind turbines. All these are technologies that are, associated with the renewable energy transition. So the key message is that as Africa would still want to develop socially, economically, we need higher GDPs or higher income per capita, and energy being key will be forced, to consume or need to use the fossil fuels. You may have heard that countries like Uganda, Angola have just invested about $4 billion into gas, which are actually one of the factors that are contributing to greenhouse gas emissions. But indeed, in the event of increasing climate change effects, we need to green energy sources and then green the industrialization process. So what's the role of, for example, human resource or indeed skills and development in achieving sustainable growth? So to me, or indeed to us, sustainable growth means we need to power our industries or industrialization process based on green energy sources or renewable energy sources. So in this case, if you look at Namibia, it's focusing on green hydrogen, to provide energy. This hydrogen could also be a source for fertilizer manufacturing, but at the same time, it's used in other, industries, as I've said, like mineral refineries. Okay, so sustainable growth means reducing consumption, carbon consumption to generate energy, and indeed investing more into renewable technologies. So why is resource economics important? It will help us on feasibility of these solutions that we're talking about, particularly the renewable technologies, AI-driven or AI-based solutions, as these investments require a lot of money. If we're investing into energy production, it requires a lot of money. But at the same time, these technologies have been studies in that regard. Why economics is also important? Resources have many alternative uses, and we need to make the best use of our resources. So Namibia is, leading by example. You see, hydrogen or green hydrogen actually is helping so that they can even tap energy from the sun, tap energy from wind. You see, wind has also become a factor of production to produce more energy. So what Namibia is doing is harnessing solar energy, wind energy, to produce hydrogen. And then hydrogen itself is also factored into more energy production, to power production of other products as well, green products as well. But at the same time, we're talking of green labor. Green labor, this is where we are using our labor sources or labor resources into production of green products. So Namibia is leading at Africa level in terms of expanding the natural resource account. Who knew that sun, wind could be, one of the factors into production? So the message here is that if we want Africa to develop economically and socially, we need to expand our resource base by taking account sun and wind, and indeed harnessing green hydrogen, so that then we increase our green products. Yeah, so I think the most important part is the last point where I talk of job creation for Africa youth. You see, about 60% of Africa youth are either not employed or underemployed. And to me, this is a serious problem. That's why Africa remains poor. We have low GDP levels. All right, it's high time countries need to deliberately create a platform for the youth to be employed. The future for Africa is not for the spent forces, leaders that are ahead of us. The future is for the youth and the children that are yet to be born. So if we do not deliberately create a platform where youth can supply their labor to earn a wage, where they can save or indeed invest for future consumption, then we are creating time bomb. Moving forward in terms of climate change solutions, climate technologies and solutions, we are saying Namibia is leading by example. Green hydrogen is actually a climate solution in itself. But again, as we've seen, there are also other climate solutions like smart irrigation and water efficient. Now, what does green hydrogen production involve? This is where we're using energy to separate hydrogen from oxygen particles or elements, all right? So you see that there is competition for water now. We need water to produce hydrogen, which is in itself a source. The same water is needed to power agricultural sector, to supply to domestic users. So water resource has to be not just managed, but at the same time developed. There will be huge demand now for water. So in addition to that, we're talking of green hydrogen, which is part of the renewable energies, as a basis for green industrialization. If Africa is to realize sustainable economic growth, we need to abandon the fossil fuels and adopt, renewables, which include the green hydrogen. All right. The same renewables, which include green hydrogen, are also a basis for digitization and the AI-driven industries. You see, AI requires a lot of, ICT infrastructure, and ICT infrastructure will run based on a lot of energy. And we cannot generate this energy from any other sources other than the renewables, which includes green hydrogen. All right. We are talking of digital trade, which requires ICT infrastructure. This ICT infrastructure will require a lot of energy, and we cannot have this energy from any other sources, including the fossil fuels, other than the renewable energies. Okay, fast forward, hydrogen innovation for sustainable growth. So we are seeing that we commend Namibia, which is actually targeting the continent as a market, and indeed even markets beyond Africa to provide, as much energy. So to us, I believe we are on the right track. What we need to do is let's support what Namibia is doing so that we will also stand to benefit. We know the hydrogen, the green hydrogen that they're producing will not just power Namibia industrialization process, but it can actually power, African industrialization process. In terms of opportunities, there are so many, as I've indicated, but one key opportunity is that we are contributing to reduction in the greenhouse gas emissions. We are contributing to, zeroing in or net zero carbon emissions, which is in itself mitigative or indeed adaptive in terms of responding to climate change effects. There are so many opportunities. One of the key opportunities is green growth itself. We need green growth. You see, green growth can provide a lot more job opportunities than when we rely on the fossil fuel sources of energies. So there are a lot more opportunities, much as we respond to climate change effects, but we are saying renewable energies, which includes the green hydrogen, is in itself an opportunity, not just for Namibia, but for Africa. So Africa needs to embrace green technologies. Moving forward, to us as youth, as I conclude, what opportunities do we have? You see, regional market access. Namibia is producing green hydrogen. Let's offer market to Namibia, which will empower production of other green products, hence greening the entire African economy. Harmonization of standards and trade facilitation, digital trade and AI-enabled entrepreneurship. As we've said, if we talk of the African Continental Free Trade Area framework, it's digital-based. A lot of platforms are basically digital-based, and basically you're talking of ICT infrastructure that will require a lot of energy. Where do we get this energy? It's basically from renewable sources, which include solar, wind, and most importantly, the green hydrogen, which Namibia is into it. And finally, the importance of green or renewable technologies as well as green growth is that currently there are a lot of opportunities in terms of climate finances. I'm just coming back from COP. There are a lot of funding opportunities for mitigation, for adaptation. I know one of the challenges you have is access to finance. I'm telling you, green growth is an opportunity. If you have proposals as companies, profit-making, non-profit-making, charity organizations, NGOs, local, international, there's a lot more financial or climate finance opportunities. So green growth, green energy or technologies are basically a way to go. In terms of policy and investment priorities, we are saying governments need to deliberately attract the youth for climate tech adoption as well as investment. And finally, down there, you see, green growth, as I indicated, it provides opportunity for a lot more jobs. So our universities should actually train graduates that can not only manufacture the capital structure or capital infrastructure for renewable energy production, including green hydrogen, but at the same time maintaining these structures. Just quickly, China produces about 1.4 million engineers every year, and they're able to absorb all of them. It's the same thing with Africa. This 60% unemployment and underemployment could be waters under the bridge if we embrace renewable sources, including hydrogen, green hydrogen technologies. Colleagues, this is where I end. Over to you, Madam Coordinator. Thank you.
Please clap hands. Thank you very much, Mr. Andrea, for that presentation. Indeed, it was very insightful in terms of climate technology and hydrogen innovations, achieving Africa's sustainable growth through green industrialization. However, I have a question. How do you intend, I did read at one of your presentation slides, but how do you intend to collaborate in terms of green, in terms of hydrogen that is, it's an upcoming development in Namibia, right? And it's already existing in Malawi. You have been probably on a development stage for some time now. How do you intend on collaborating with Namibian youth in order for them as well to gain the same experience, just in less than 1 minute, please? Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think in terms of collaboration, it's high time we needed to agree what should Namibia produce, which they can produce for themselves as well as export. And then what should we produce? I don't think, because this will require huge investments. Already, Namibia is looking for around 9 billion US dollars to invest into green hydrogen. And this is where huge sum of money. So if Namibia can invest, produce so many megawatts, which can then export to other countries, then Malawi can focus on what we are also economically efficient at producing, and then export to Namibia. I think that would be the kind of collaboration. As I'm saying, Africa is one continent, and we need resources to invest in a number of infrastructures, not just energy infrastructure. We need transport infrastructure, which also needs energy infrastructure. We need to expand mining as well, which is also energy intensive. So I think if Malawi has resources, I don't think expanding energy production would make sense. Let's invest into infrastructure that will not just benefit us as individual countries, but it should benefit regions, should benefit the entire continent. Yeah. So if Namibia is into energy, Malawi can invest into transport infrastructure like rail system to supply or indeed connect to regional networks. That's how I would respond. Yeah, sure.
Okay, no, thank you very much for that, because our next presenter is ready. However, if there's any questions, how do we get hold of you?
I can share my WhatsApp number is already on the group, but I can also share my email address there, and you can always share whatever questions that might follow. And indeed, as you are saying, let's maintain the conversations. Africa is bleeding. People need food on the table. People need energy, to do their economic activities so that they achieve whatever they want in life. So let's
Okay, no, thank
continue
you very much,
engaging with
Mr.
this.
Andrea. I'll also share your details. Please just do share them with me as well in terms of the email that you are reachable.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Sono, please go ahead. Just make sure that you do share your presentation slides, please. Sonel?
Of course. Hi, how are you? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you. Please just introduce yourself and then you can start
I'll
off.
do that. Okay, so hi everybody. Thank you so much for inviting me here, Elizabeth. I'm so grateful to have been a part of this. So I'm Sonal Gupta. I'm the founder president of Project Green and Garbage, and I'm from India. To give you a glimpse about what Project Green and Garbage is, so we are a youth-led organization. But before that, if I move into like what we do, who am I, and all these things, I think you all are drenched into a lot of information by now, right? I think it's around 4 p.m. in Namibia and you all have been drenched in a lot of information. So I want this to be like a conversation that we do. So when you hear the word project green and garbage, what do you think? Like, I would like a little introduction if anybody would want to speak up. What do you think of this initiative? What do you think this organization is all about? If anybody would want to speak. Do we have that thing, Elizabeth? Like anybody can speak or something? Do we have like an audience participation? Elizabeth, can you confirm that? If not, I'll move forward and I'll explain myself.
Miss Sonel, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Hello?
Yes, I can. Was I not audible?
Oh, okay. It's raining right now,
All right.
and when we barely can hear you, is it possible that we can please shift you for tomorrow?
Of course, of course.
Okay, I'll communicate with you offline regarding the
All right.
time.
No worries at all. I thought so because I think I lost my network. I couldn't hear you or
Sorry, say that
something.
again.
I couldn't hear you before. It's all right.
Oh, okay, because it's raining.
All right.
All right. No, thank you
No
very much.
worries. It's okay.
Okay.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for coming, and especially for those that really came early in the morning for the Women in Youth-led Green Trade and Digital Innovation Summit 2025. It was a great honor to host you as the summit director. And I'm actually looking forward to tomorrow, and I'm hoping that actually we'll have numbers, because I know it was also, during the weekdays. But thank you so much to all that participated online, and as well those that also made time to actually come and attend it in person. A very big thank you as well to the sponsors that sponsored the venue. As you can see by the banners, Katitra East Constituency Councillor's Office, they have sponsored for this, and also a very big thank you to NBC's sponsorship as last year and as well as this year. We really do appreciate the corporate responsibility that they are really engaging with the youth in order just to make sure that we are able to connect with very important stakeholders, policymakers, investors, micro, small, medium enterprises, and government stakeholders from different countries as well. As we have seen that we had also presenters from different government stakeholders, such as from Malawi as well. So I really want to say thank you very much as well to the organizing team of Green EcoTech International. Because our IT team is actually from Burundi and Nigeria. So I just really want to say thank you to their hard work and for making sure that the event also took place. And I also want to say thank you so much to Namibia Recycling Waste Expo, right? For just showing up with so much love, especially as well joining the panel. And thank you to all the panelists, and also to our AfCFTA Deputy Country Lead, Ms. Amanda. Thank you very much. We really appreciated your insights and just for making sure that we do understand what is AfCFTA. I'm sure a lot of people are going to harness on that. And for the rest of the panel that also left earlier. And thank you as well to Honorable Merlin for showing up on behalf of the government. Let me just put it that way. So we'll close it off now, and thank you so much.